G'day and welcome back to the channel, and today we are at Laguna Seca for the first round of the Toyota Gazoo Racing GT Cup, and you find me on the grid in P2. So let's take a look at my qualifying lap. So about today's race, we are, as I say, at the fabled and storied Laguna Seca Raceway in sunny California for 18 laps in the Toyota Supra. And this is a combination I'm not entirely comfortable with. It's a track I am not altogether familiar with. I haven't raced here very much, and this is the first time I've ever even really driven the Supra. Obviously outside of practice, although practice was limited. Coming straight off a Nations Cup race, I only really had one day to prepare for this race. So as we come up and approach the left turn on our way to the corkscrew, I just want to take a moment to talk about the channel. In future, there will be timestamps in the description if you want to skip over the cinematic intro, or go straight to my qualifying lap, or go straight to the start of the race. As I always show the cinematic intro where there is one, and the full grid to give other races their due. So yeah, that's what will be happening in future. Rounding the final turn onto the straight towards the end of my best lap, which was the second flying lap, and it's good enough for a P2. So let's take a look down the grid, and some familiar faces and some not so familiar faces. Major Havoc, I think I've seen him before. You will see him again later. Deep Heating 87. Fathead 666, with one of the best usernames I've ever seen, honestly. Cruising Like a Bow in P7. And our good friend James Cruz, or Jimmy James on YouTube, and massive shout out to him. He saved my life. I forgot to save the replay from this race, but I got in touch with Jimmy and asked if he had saved the replay. He had, and within an hour he'd shared it on GT Sport, and which meant I could download it and use the footage in this video. So you have him to thank for all of the awesome TV angles that you get throughout this race. The Skidler I've raced against before, and we'll see why he's called the Skidler a bit later on. Coyote 50. Yeah, we'll meet him again later. And Speed Racer 1973. I hope that's the year he was born, because that would mean that I'm not the oldest person in this lobby. So to get ready for a grid start at Laguna Seca, and grid starts in GT Sport are always, well, let's say they're fun. And they're fun because just about half the grid gets an immediate false start penalty, and it's over 5 seconds, and absolute carnage ensues straight off the mark. But we do get it together, and unfortunately that terrible start has dropped me from P2 all the way down to P11 as we come around T1, and it's just it's a bowling match. It's 10-pin bowling. And strap yourselves in, because this is one wild ride, let me tell you. This race is anything but boring. As we head up the hill, with Tin Sinister in front of us, familiar face from the Nations Cup race the other day. And let me tell you about the two curses that plague me in this game as I drop 2 positions back to P11 again. The two curses are first race curse and first lap curse. I'll talk about those in a moment. I'm feeling like I can catch up as long as I don't do anything really stupid. Yeah. First lap curse bites again. But this race is a lesson in why you should never give up. I mean, what happened back then would have been a perfect excuse to just rage quit and try again at the later time slot. But I decided to keep on going because you never know what can happen, and we're still only on lap 1, just starting lap 2. And as we move forward later in the lap, we can see Major Havoc has gone wide, so we gain a position back to P15 as we turn to go up the hill, chasing down a very tight pack of cars. But yeah, I have terrible luck in the first lap of a race. So you round the corner towards the corkscrew and Jimmy's off. But thanks Jimmy for the P14, and we're catching up to Azura now. It's a little bit of accidental contact with his back, so I hung back and didn't want to take the position off him like that because it would have meant sending him off into the off into the nothing. Almost lose it again, but my awesome drifting skills come to the rescue. And up ahead, Jonesy's off. So we're up to P13. So already gained back 3 positions in the space of a lap as we come around the hairpin back onto the straight to begin my fastest lap of the race. So we'll move into cockpit view. And yeah, first race curse. The first race of a night is usually a terrible one for me, as Azura goes skidding off on T1 and cruising like a bro, cruises off like a bro. So yeah, I have terrible luck in the first race of a night, and usually use it as really just as practice. But unfortunately, what happened here was when I went back in to enter the 8:30 p.m. race slot, I got disconnected just as the matching got underway. So I got a disconnect from the server, which meant this had to stand. This was a one and done. So you were seeing the curse unfold in all of its glory. As we ride side by side, yeah, we do get the position off Speed Racer. Not in the prettiest way possible though. I think it was a bit too tight through there, but I was nosing ahead, so I'll leave it up to you to decide whether that was fair or not. As we come up to the hairpin to finish lap 3 behind Fastbus. And then back onto the main straight, and we are up into P10 by this stage. So we are catching the pack, and we are doing an okay job of it. If I'd had a good start, if I hadn't have messed up the grid start, I have a feeling I probably would have been quite a fair bit in front. I mean, you see a 14 second gap up to P1 at this point, and I feel like I would have been right there had I not messed the start up. Grid starts are always tricky, but don't do what I do. Don't do the handbrake thing. It doesn't work. Just keep your foot on the brake pedal all the way in. As the lights start to flash up red, you can accelerate or put your foot on the accelerator, and then wait for the lights to come off before you take the foot off the brake, because the brake, the handbrake trick doesn't always work, as we see cars going 3 wide into the corkscrew, but they sort themselves out. And now we're about to witness a display of absolutely shocking sportsmanship as I overtake Coyote 5-0 out of the corkscrew, and that, to me, that was a clean overtake. There was nothing wrong with that at all. I think Coyote felt differently, and he just decides to ram me off at the top of the hairpin, and he just keeps going. He just keeps going. Absolutely no remorse there. Cops a 3-second penalty for his trouble, but I don't understand why that was at all necessary. As we come up, I mean, it's shot me back to 11th. I do pass Jonesy, but I take a bad line through T1, and Jonesy gets a very nice cut back on me, and we have to keep going. We'll keep chasing the pack as Coyote approaches the line to serve his very well-deserved penalty. So we'll flash forward now to lap 5. I'm still on the back of the battle for 8th pack. And I catch up with them towards the beginning of lap 6. And I don't feel at all bad about that, frankly. I mean, I'm not entirely proud of myself, but yeah. But karma has a way of catching up with you, and karma caught up with me on this bend as I skid off into the dirt. Not as bad as the disaster on lap 1, but it means I will drop back. You know, unlike Coyote, I actually give other racers room on the track. So I only lose 1 position through that. Coming through the corkscrew again, and I take a better line than Coyote does out of here. You really do need to get to the outside to minimise the turn on this, and yeah. But he was a little bit quicker. And back up to the infamous hairpin now, with Major Havoc right behind me. But I get a nice run up the main straight. I drop behind Coyote just to take advantage of his slipstream a little bit, and then I brake just a tad later than him, and he gets caught up with Major Havoc, and I'm able to then take back P9. So now an 8-second gap up to P8 at the moment. So I've got a lot of work to do, but I do have clean air. And a yellow flag in front as Jonesy has gone off, and that promotes me back up to P8. So in less than 6 laps, I've gone from P16 to P8. As the Skidler shows us why he's called the Skidler. And that promotes me up to P7 here on lap 9. So, I mean, this proves why you never give up. You know, if something happens to you on the track and you think your race is ruined, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. As I, you know, take a bad line, a very bad line around that turn, and am passed by Major Havoc. So back down to P8. I try to get the run on him on the inside line, but I brake too early. Takes a better line through there, up to the top of the hill. And he completely misses his braking point, and I will gladly take P7 back as we move forward to lap 11. I'm up into P5 now as a driver has pitted in front of me on lap 10. And so as we come to the end now of lap 12, it's time for me to change off these sports soft tyres and onto sports hard tyres. So we'll head into the pits. So just a quick change of tyres. I won't need to refuel at all. But on go the hards, and back out of the pits I come down in P9. So we continue our chase in some clean air as we and really this is what it looked like for the next few laps as we get on to the beginning of lap 16. And as we start the final lap, we've closed the gap to those ahead by down to about 3 seconds to Major Havoc and Jimmy up ahead, and they will come into play a little bit later. The action's not over yet, folks. So yeah, this was a race of argy-bargy with cars that were too wide for a very narrow track, I think, and you know, cars that were built. I mean, they're road cars. They're not actually race cars, and you can really tell that there's so much weight in these cars. They really just don't want to. Yeah, they're very squirrely is the word I've been using quite a lot, so I'll go with that. As we head up to the corkscrew for the final time, and Major Havoc and Jimmy are in a heated battle for P6. And the podium's already crossed the line. A massive gap at the end of this race. Not really all that surprising considering how much chaos there was, and I was not the only one who was affected by that. So up to the final hairpin, and it looks at this stage that we'll be finishing in P8, or so it would seem, and Jimmy and Havoc getting into a bit of a scrape, and then Major Havoc just decides to punk me up against a wall. Didn't really do anything, but as we cross the line in P7, we're promoted up to P5 as there were people who forgot to use the hard tyres, and so they copped a 1 minute penalty, which is fine, I'll take it. Certainly a fantastic result considering the disaster on lap 1. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, comment below to let me know how you did in this race, or just to say hi. And don't forget to subscribe, because next on the calendar, we're back at Lago Maggiore for the second round of the Manufacturer Series in Group 4 cars. I'm Dan Raff, and I'll see you at the next race.